Sagittarius, the messages are already coming in hot for you, and we haven't even gotten to the tarot reading yet, so I'm really excited to dive in today. But before we get into all of that, I do just want to thank all of you who support this channel with your likes, shares, comments, and subscribes. And if you've been following around and haven't done so already, I really encourage you to hit that subscribe and bell notification so you can always stay up to date with what's in the cards for you, as well as support me and this channel so I can continue putting these messages out for all of you. And these are timeless readings, so you're welcome to watch them whenever they find you. Right now, I am also running a sale on my website, which is in the description of this video, where you can get personal readings and distance Reiki sessions with me. You can get up to 30% off astrology readings, which is perfect for the new year. Really figure out what kind of year you have ahead, what sort of themes, and how you can best work with that energy. Really just an exciting time, and I always like to do sales for the holidays and the new year. So definitely check that out if you want to take a deep dive with me. Now, as I was connecting to your energy, Sagittarius, it really felt like there were some extreme and maybe even painful energies that were coming up, either already or something that's kind of around the corner. And I don't say this to be doom and gloom. And if there's ever a reading or a message that feels like overwhelming or super heavy, it may not be for you. It's really up to your own intuition and discernment to figure out what applies to your own life and what is meant for somebody else. But I just had this sense of like, my Sagittarians are feeling a little bit heavy and maybe even having some pain that is coming up. And I was not surprised at all when I just pulled out the Botanical Oracle, and the first card that came out here was Nettle. And the message on this card is actually tribulation. And so some of you really are going through some sort of test. And if you've ever encountered stinging nettle, you know it can be very uncomfortable, and in some cases can even lead to serious injury or even death. So this is not a plant to mess around with. But there's also a lot of really useful things with nettle as well. There are lots of pharmacopoeia purposes for it. It can also release histamines, which can help with allergies, or antihistamines, I should say. And so there's actually lots of different purposes here. And nettle kind of represents how something can be both beneficial, but also maybe painful and uncomfortable. And so I feel like psychologically or spiritually, a lot of you are kind of going through this growth period. And I don't want this to seem like something that is, again, something that you're dreading or afraid of, because if this is your message, you already kind of know you're going through it. But there is some sort of meaning or something that you could be extracting from it, or maybe even something that is motivating you in your experience as well to do something differently. There could be like a relationship that is potentially ending, or maybe something that is changing with work. It feels like a major life ending, honestly. I did also get the daylily, and the message here is ephemeral, and that's because these plants can only bloom for a day. Sometimes they will flower for a day and then they go away, they fade, they die. So they have a very short-lived span. But this really does also signify finding the beauty in something that is temporary. And I think a lot of the times, especially in kind of the Western world, we're really afraid of things being temporary, of things being ephemeral. But there is another side to this. Our suffering, our pain, is also temporary and will come to an end. And that's actually the message that I got for you, Sagittarius. This pain, this suffering will end. Do not lose sight of this. Do not lose sight of yourself. But it does feel like there is something that you need to learn to let go of, or just allow. And again, this feels like a very deep kind of spiritual reading, because even though I do get the sense there is some sort of major life change, I'm sure we'll get more specific as we go into the reading, it feels like the heart of this is about your spiritual and psychological growth. And when I did pull out the tarot deck, the card that I had at the bottom here was Death. And so indeed, a lot of you are going through some sort of ending or transformation, which can lead to a new beginning for sure, but it does feel like right now there is something that is being released, and perhaps this is even an old sense of self or something that you identified with very closely, which again could be like a relationship or a job if it's something that really felt like a part of your identity. But it's almost like the universe, spirit, is causing you to break away from this because it's no longer serving you, or there's something else that you are supposed to be doing or moving towards. So some pretty big transformation here, and it might be painful, but it's almost like trust in the process. You can let this go. You can release the Sagittarius. There is very likely a new beginning and something very beautiful that is coming in, and it's not about getting so swept up in the loss and the pain, even though that is what feels energetically very on the surface. That's not the real meaning here. That's not the real point. I'm not giving you these messages to scare you or to make you feel stuck. They're here to capture your pain and to inspire you. That is really the intention. So I'm very, very curious to see what cards are coming through here, what messages we have. And as I'm shuffling, I encourage you to really just take a moment, maybe even uncross your legs, open your body, and really just become aware of your energy. This way you can really discern what messages are meant for you versus what should be left behind for somebody else. You may even want to pause this video for a moment and really just check in with your own energy. And if this video just does not resonate with you, it's totally fine. It doesn't mean that anything went wrong, but you're more than welcome to check out the other readings on my channel, maybe even for your moon or rising sign. These are timeless readings, so you can really trust these messages to come to you whenever they are meant to. And again, just trust your own intuition and discernment above all else. So what are the messages that we have for Sagittarius here? Show us clearly, please. Show us clearly. Ooh, okay, lots of different energies here. So I had a bunch of cards that just kind of flew out, but only a few of them came face up. So I'm just going to be looking at those cards. But it does feel like with these cards, there is a lot that you are walking away from. And it feels like you put a lot of yourself into this situation. This actually does feel like it's related to work for many of you. Because the Six of Pentacles is like literally putting your time and energy into something, your resources into something. It can also represent giving more to other people. So it still could be about a relationship. And honestly, maybe this is just about your life overall. Maybe this isn't just speaking to one area of life. But there's just been a lot of giving. And it feels like with the World, the Moon, the Six of Swords, or I'm sorry, yeah, the Six of Swords and the Three of Pentacles all coming out together here. It feels like you're kind of going in a new direction and you don't necessarily know where it's going to lead you. You just know that you can't stay in the place you've been in. And it does feel like you were supposed to be collaborating with people, you were supposed to be working with other people, and maybe there are other people in your life who are kind of helping you move forward. But it's like, you know what this really tells me, Sagittarius? It feels like there's some sort of journey that you're supposed to be making. And again, it does kind of feel like an ending for a lot of you with the World. And it's almost like you've been so afraid. You've been so afraid to let something go, whether this is a relationship, whether this is a situation, whether this is where you live. But it's like you're making it bigger than it actually is. And it's like when you actually move forward, you kind of realize, oh, yeah, this was emotional for me. There could be some big emotions that are coming through. But this thing that I felt like was jumping the Grand Canyon was more like a 2-inch drop. That's at least what I'm getting. And it's funny because I feel like Sagittarius, this ending, there's a ripple effect. That's what I'm really trying to get here. It feels like there's one thing that is changing in your life, but it's causing more changes than even just in that immediate situation. So some of you could be going through the end of a relationship, and in that process could really be thinking about, well, where do I want to live? What do I want my life to look like? And what have I maybe compromised in order to be in this relationship that maybe I can move towards now? Or kind of give yourself permission to do that. And same thing with like a job ending or a work situation that's changing, maybe you need to walk away from. It's also opening up doors for you. And so by going into the unknown, it actually does open up some doors. And I do feel like for a lot of you, there could quite literally be something with travel with the Six of Swords, or at the very least, just this willingness to move forward and kind of leaving a tumultuous situation or dynamic behind. Because there's definitely a pattern that needs to change too. And I think that's why there's all of this kind of larger than life spiritual energy that really feels like the overall kind of vibe of this reading. It's like you're going through a dark night of the soul. That really does signify the Six of Swords with the moon and the world. And for those of you who aren't familiar or just want the refresher, a dark night of the soul is basically any sort of major life change that causes some discomfort, that can really shake up your sense of insecurity and kind of have you question things. But there's also a very rich potential to introspect and to connect on a deeper spiritual level. So even though there are some hardships, there are some tribulations with the natal from the beginning, there is something that can be gained from this. But you also have to use your free will. You also have to decide to move forward. Can we get a sense of what exactly is happening for Sagittarius, or what is happening right now? We do have the Knight of Pentacles. So I do feel like there is slow and steady progress towards something new. And you might be learning new skills or relying on your skills, but it feels like you are making some steady improvement to some sort of area of your life, especially in regards to finances or career. But this could just be you getting back up on your feet, gathering what you need in order to be prepared. It feels like some of you are literally setting out on this journey here. I keep getting like, I almost literally get the image of you hiking with this card too. It's interesting. Maybe some of you are going on like a hiking trip or planning one, or just connecting with nature more. And I mean, mountains in particular can be very spiritual, kind of gaining that perspective, going to a higher place. That could be something that is quite energetically significant for you as well. And it can also represent kind of overcoming a challenge or rising to the occasion. Wow, Sagittarius. Yeah, I feel like you're building a new life for yourself. And it feels like in that process, you're maybe letting go of some things that are painful to let go of. But it's important that you almost keep yourself busy, which is interesting. That's not generally what I tell people. I'm not telling you to distract yourself necessarily, but it's also important to feel your emotions while carrying that as you're moving forward and keeping your eyes on the destination, on the goal. And maybe there are times where you can't do that, and that's okay. You know, you have to really trust your own discernment and really check in with yourself, and that's going to look different for you each day. But I feel like overall, it's important that you do have something to work on, something that feels productive, that is going to help you move through this heavy energy. So maybe you're applying to new jobs, maybe applying to a new job every day, or working on a resume, making some sort of step. Small steps every day is something that feels important. Especially if you are moving on from a relationship as well. Wow, the Ten of Wands. Yeah, there's definitely some things that you are needing to let go of. It's funny, Sagittarius, because I feel like you are the one who's actually letting go of something, or struggling to do so. You do have to carry what you can, and no more. You have to travel light. The Ten of Wands often shows up when you've grown to such a point or tried to manage so many things, but you're now reaching this point where you either need to let some things go, to release them, to offer them up, or delegate, give them to somebody else. But it does feel like you need to kind of release some things that have become heavy for you, Sagittarius. You need to lighten your own load. And I think you know this. Maybe some of you are even in the process of doing this. And I almost get the sense there's like a gradual change, actually, because this doesn't feel immediate. I'd love to say it is, because I feel like that's always a clickbaity title, like immediate, unexpected changes. But no, like you're really doing something quite intentionally here. And maybe even slowing down and taking your time is also some advice as well. Not all good things happen quickly. And that can actually be a huge trap, a huge ego trap. Like if we're always expecting things to happen instantly or quickly, we can very much just live our lives spinning in circles and not really going anywhere. But it does feel like you're kind of in a process of letting things go and transitioning at the same time. And you're being forged. You know, I'm looking at this fire, this huge bonfire, and it's important not to get lost in what is being destroyed, but rather focus on what is being forged instead, because there is something beautiful here. And it may even be more beautiful than you anticipate or realize right now. Like, you don't see where this is leading you. There's a lot of worry with the Nine of Swords. And sometimes this can be the card of being your own worst enemy, or being in this sort of tunnel vision. Like, you might lose perspective a little bit. And that's why it's important to really focus on things that you can control. Yeah, definitely. Focusing on things you can control. What else do we have for Sagittarius? Where is all of this leading? Where is all of this leading? Show us clearly. We have the Empress. Abundance, creation, new life, new love, even. The abundance represents, Empress represents the planet Venus, which is the planet of love, beauty, art, abundance. You are growing, you are changing. And it's also important to take care of your own body and to become more embodied in yourself, and to take actions that nurture you and nurture your purpose and your spirit. There is something very beautiful here. And I feel like whatever it is that you are planting will bear fruit. It may take some time, but you're getting there. And I feel like you might even begin to see that very soon, because this is kind of, even though this is in the future, this is still within the scope of this reading at the time you are watching this. There is something that feels very hopeful. I even want to say that in the next couple weeks of watching this, there is something that could be growing in, or something that is like a kind of reaping the fruits of your labors, reaping the reward. Kind of interesting word choice there too. You know, I said things may not be happening super quickly, but there could be something coming in with the 8 of Wands. But 7 of Wands is also interesting. And I always think it's interesting when we go from the 7 to the 8, or there's kind of an ascending or descending. We do almost have something counting down, going from the 8 to the 7. I think I had that backwards a moment ago. I apologize. But I saw the 8 of Wands and then 7 of Wands. So it feels like there is some sort of countdown. And with the 8 of Wands, this is a card of momentum, things happening quickly, maybe even like good news, something that feels exciting. I do feel like there is something to look forward to, and it's kind of emboldening you to stand in your power, to stand your ground even more. Like you're getting a second wind, which is interesting. And there may be some people who are also kind of like jealous or triggered or kind of defensive around you. You're feeling like you need to defend your energy against other people. But it feels like as the result of something positive, which is interesting. I'm curious, is there any other messages for Sagittarius? I'm actually kind of curious what's going on in love or in your relationships. Any messages there? Interesting. We do have the Seven of Pentacles with the Three of Wands. This actually feels like a really literal message of like, is this worth investing my time and energy into? I feel like a lot of your relationships are either in review or you're looking back on your relationships and really figuring out like, what do I actually want to invest my time and energy in? And that's actually the same message I had at the beginning of the reading. So it really does just feel like in all areas of life right now, you're figuring out what is worth investing your time and energy in. And maybe there's even been something that's been kind of ongoing with the Seven of Pentacles, because sometimes this can indicate something that has happened over the course of time. But the Three of Wands really is like, what is the future here? What is actually coming in? What is actually going to change? Or what is going to yield something back to me? A lot of the time people think of the Three of Wands as putting your ships out for sale or out for trade and something coming in. And there's a new horizon here. And I feel like maybe some of you have been playing small in your relationships, whether or not that's the result of somebody else or just your own kind of internal conditioning. Even if you're in really healthy relationships right now, it feels like you're kind of figuring out how you invest your energy, and maybe there are better ways to do that. King of Pentacles, I feel like you're really craving stability in relationships. And again, there's something about this like staying power or future power. Like you want the relationship where you're going to build a life with somebody or build something with somebody. And I feel like you're not looking to be in a relationship just for the sake of being in one. Or at least that's really the advice here. Like you really want to grow. Some of you could be connecting with an earth sign. We actually do have pretty strong Taurus energy with the King of Pentacles, as well as the Empress from earlier. So maybe someone with Taurus, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but could also be Virgo or Capricorn placements here too. And interestingly, the King of Pentacles is also, I was going to say it's your energy, but it's not. That would be the Queen of Pentacles for some of you. But this could also be later Aries energy as well. So in the last 10 degrees of Aries. But yeah, I really feel like this is about you looking for stability. And maybe even some of you right now, you're choosing to focus and put your heart into what you're doing and what you're working on. And that's the main relationship that you're in. And that's the thing that's also going to bring in relationships that are right for you. So it feels very practical. You're very much in a place of building right now, Sagittarius. Are there any other messages for Sagittarius at this time? Anything else that we're missing or anything that we just need to kind of put a nice capstone on this reading? We have the Chariot. Keep moving forward, baby. Just keep focusing on what's in your control. You can't control how other people are going to react to you. You can't control how other people show up in their relationships even. You can make suggestions, you can ask, you can have communication with them, but ultimately, you have to bring your power back into your own hands here. And I feel like a lot of you are really stepping into something that actually feels quite good, but there's a little bit of pain. There might be a little bit of letting go to get there. And the Chariot really is kind of like being aligned with yourself, that light and that darkness, going after what it is that you want. And again, like choosing to focus on what is in your control. I'm also kind of getting like magician energy with this too. And the Page of Swords. I definitely feel like there's some communication and some learning that is happening. And again, it feels like there is something that's a work in progress. And that's also a message I have for you. It's not about you waiting for the perfect time or waiting to be totally healed or integrated before you take the next step. You kind of just need to start doing it. And that's actually going to be the thing that heals you. That is the thing that makes you ready, is doing. Because I feel like some of you have been stuck in your life because you've been waiting for the perfect time. And the moment is now. The perfect time is now. It's something that you have to do. You have to initiate. Anything else? Anything else for Sagittarius? Any other messages? Yeah, Ten of Swords. There are some things that you're ending. Enough is enough. You are closing the door on certain things. And it's like, I just want to say to you, Sagittarius, if this ending is painful, the only thing that is more painful is prolonging it. So don't prolong the pain. You know what needs to clear out in your life. You know what's over. And I think you are the one who is letting it go. And maybe it already is something that ended. Maybe it was some job or relationship that you were let go of, or someone that let you go, but you haven't let it go. And now you have to decide to do that. And that doesn't mean that you don't feel a certain way. That doesn't mean that your emotions just suddenly change. It just means that you're no longer trying to change the outcome. You have to let something die in order for something to be born. Looking at this amniotic image as well. This egg. So some pretty heavy messages. I hope that this wasn't too much for you, but also it was just the energies that were coming through. So I really hope that this resonated with who it was meant to resonate with, that this inspired you, that this gave you the courage to let go of something. Really comment down below what it is that you're releasing, or just something that you need to let go of. Maybe even just giving some sort of word, even if you don't want to write out what that really is. What do you need to take back as well? That feels really important too. I would love to hear from all of you, and again, I appreciate all of your support. You can find all of my links in the description of this video for personal readings and distance Reiki sessions. Again, I do have a sale and would love to work with all of you, and I will see you next time. Take care, Sagittarius, and sending lots of love and blessings your way.